Alright guys, that's coming again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Major development in last night's $10,000 Zinni Invitational. Team Scrap makes a decent run before getting 1v3s by the team that went on to win the tournament. What is going on with Awakening? Banned last night by the Ricochet anti-cheat, harkening back to some degree to what happened back in Modern Warfare 19, where people seriously thought this guy might have been cheating. Is there an innocent explanation for this? Is there something more sinister actually going on? Very much enjoyed to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. We're going to start here because Surge got officially confirmed yesterday as a roster. This was Gwyn's POV, watching Legends find himself in a 1 versus 1 against, well, some other guy. He's teaming with Lunas here, of course, because that is the roster that they will be putting together, and he gets absolutely slammed. Not a great gunfight to lose, but it is what it is. Look, am I going to judge Legend off one gunfight that he's got absolutely slammed in? No, but yeah, not a great start. Welcome to COD, effectively. They did confirm their roster officially yesterday. Legend, one of the most talented players in the Halo domain, absolutely. Making the transition to COD. There is going to be a learning curve, of course, not just in Hardpoint and Overload and the other modes that aren't played, Search and Destroy even, right, they're not played in Halo, but also, you know, the way that you move, the way that you go about things. Yeah, we've seen Legend 1v1 Illy last year on Black Ops 6 and slam him. I think the potential's absolutely there. Clearly a lot of risk in this roster, but if it works, there's obviously a lot of upside as well. Abe had a good time at the end of last season on Toronto, joined them for the World Cup, did a stellar job. Glad he's got an opportunity. I think Toronto said they were going to keep Abe as their sub, but they weren't going to hold him to a contract if he was end up, you know, going to get an offer from elsewhere. That's what happens. Legend then joining Surge. Fascinating that none of the other Halo players even really seem to be making the move at all. But one of the most notable is ending up straight into the Pro League, right? Like, he's going straight in. Lots of the other guys, are they going to get a Challengers team? Are they not? Those are good questions. Right now, we're not really sure what the state of affairs there is. Because a lot of those guys, if they go to Challengers, no real experience playing COD at a good level, no pro points, players don't really want to take so much of a risk, and even for those guys, because there were some concerns, they're not going to be getting opportunities, and now they're thinking, well, maybe do I even bother in the first place? But for Legend, it's kind of a no-brainer, but remarkable if basically the only Halo player that actually does make the move just ends up on a pro team, and the others don't. Luna's then rounding out the team. Look, Gwyn's been a quality player for the last couple of years. Last year was a bit more underwhelming than his rookie year. Lunas didn't have a great time last year on Gentlemates, but there is more in there than I think we saw. Gwyn, the big rumor was that he actually turned down offers, maybe just offer, but definitely G2 we think were interested in Gwyn. But he said, no, I want to play with Legend on Surge, I want to take the risk, which is probably why the eyebrows raised reaction was, let's say, raising some eyebrows from the community. That's the roster. Ricky Atura as the coach over there. No more Rambo, of course, either. So everything has totally changed for Surge. Are they going to be still based out of Vancouver this season? I don't know. Good question. No Rambo, where's he going to go? Could he end up on Gentlemates? That's what I've thought for some time, but they've got Vios as their head coach. So what are they going to cook up, right? Is he going to end up there anyway? French-Canadian, French-speaking org, no longer with Surge. So what's happening? All rather confusing, but Surge have a very different look for the new season. There is some upside in this team, right? If Legend turns out to be godlike, there's clearly a lot of, you know, potential here. But there's also a lot of risk, right? And the chances of them being competitive are far lower than the chances of them being terrible, I think. But there is always a chance, and at least they've taken that kind of upside risk. And I think certainly they're going to be an exciting team to watch and follow so far this season. This was the Gwyn eyebrows raised reactions. I'm sure we're going to see a fair bit more of this as the season goes on, because some people, they are getting slammed on this title now. Speaking of slammage, these were the teams for the $10,000 Zinni switcheroo last night. Some great teams in here, some really cool names to see playing as well. But notably enough, Scrap's teams. Scrap, HyDra, Sib and Envoy. Basically, the Thieves team of last year. No Ghosty, but Sib instead. So all of a sudden, that team looks like it's going to be a serious force. Notable other teams as well we'll certainly get to. But the OpTic guys, Dashy, Shotzzy, Illy and Formal. That was a team of 4. Didn't really go that well for Formal especially, but it was cool to see him back in the ring. Dashy, Shotzzy nearly playing together as well was a great find. But also, Crim and Clay. So Crim and Clay came back in this tournament. They were playing with Huke and Merc. I know that some people were like, oh, it should be pros only and all this. I mean, even Eric Boom and 8Kips, they were playing with Simp and Drazah. They did very well. They made a serious run in the tournament. But yeah, Crim, Clay, Huke, and Merc. I know some were saying, could you not have put Shotzzy in there with Merc, even though it's meant to be AR SMG, but everyone's using the same gun anyway right now, so maybe it doesn't really matter. But Shotzzy could have gone in there, effectively we could have had Dallas Empire, right, back in business to some degree. But that was great to see all that happen last night. Formal was spawning into a little bit of hijacked and was like, damn, I turned off ray tracing and I've got double the frames, which probably shouldn't be a massive surprise, but I thought it was cool to see him back on COD regardless. We also had some big moments coming out of Simp. So he had some 1v3s, he had some aces going on last night. This was also a pretty critical moment playing against Scrap's team. This was round 11, finds himself in a 1 versus 1. He takes down Envoy, finds himself in a 1 versus 1 against HyDra. Here we are on Den, and he makes it happen to win the round. Simp's been pretty disgusting so far in this game. That, of course, should be no real surprise. It is Simp, but still, last couple of years, we know that he's played a little bit more of an objective role on FaZe. He's been planting the bombs. He's been kind of taking a little bit of a back seat. I think Simp's made it pretty clear that this year, that is not what he plans to do. He is going to be the main man for the team with Abuzah and 04, now picking up some of the slack with Drazah there as well. That means I think we're in for a serious year for Simp. Pretty interesting because aBeZy and Celium, they've both been very strong over the last, so far in this game, they look really good. And as a result, people are thinking, oh, maybe FaZe made the wrong call. Maybe they should have actually kept it running for the new season. But look, things had to change with that lineup. They have done. I think it's better for the fans to see what this means going forward and whether Simp can get back to some really quality form this year, because I think he's definitely a player to watch this season. Simp and Drazah were putting in some serious work last night. The team eventually came third in the tournament and fell short to the team that eventually won, and that was Snoopy and Co. So this is when they beat in game 5, right, round 11, Scrap's team in winners round 3. And to get there, Snoopy had a 1 versus 3. So yeah, Snoop finds himself in a 1v3 here on Raze. He jumps up into the top window, trades out Scrap, and then HyDra for some reason decides to stand on top of the bomb, which was, optimistic at best. And then, well, he gets gunned and then the bomb gets killed as well before he gets the defuse on. Great clutch from Snoopy. Probably one of the more, I don't want to say underrated, because I feel like we've rated Snoopy pretty highly and maybe kind of fairly, but I think Snoopy gets a little bit overlooked in terms of his talent and potential. We know over the last couple of years he has got better on the Boston Breach. This year I think their team has also got better. We'll discuss Awakening in a second, but they've gone minus Awakening plus Nastie for the new season. And now Snoopy's really in his 3rd proper year competing. He did play at CHAMPS Modern Warfare 2, but doesn't really count. So 3rd proper year, MW 3, Black Ops 6. Here we are in Black Ops 7. Snoopy's probably going to keep moving on a good trajectory. So excited to see what he can get up to this season, especially with that Boston team that they turned some heads at the end of last season, top 3 at the World Championship, let's not forget. So this was the bracket. I mean, if you want to have a look at your favourite team and everything, I'm not going to go through every single match. Crim and Clay went down to JoeDeceives Insight in the end. This is a notable series we'll get into because Huke Mercules, this was the Awakening series that we shall discuss. But as the tournament went down to a conclusion, Scrap's team eventually go down in the losers bracket to, of course, they lost the winners bracket in the fashion that we just saw. Also, I will share the other POV, actually, because I don't think that I did just then from the Scrap POV. So Scrap gets guns, and, well, he gets killed from the top window shot at the back. Doesn't really get guns. HyDra's the one that gets guns. He stands on top of the bomb here, and, yeah, I don't know. I think you're asking for it, really, to get gunned in that type of situation when you're taking the guy who's going to camera you, right? It's just, it is what it is. He's got the peeker's advantage. So Scrap wasn't very happy about that one, putting his heart and soul, as always, into these off-season tournaments. But they eventually went down into the losers bracket to Simp and Co in the fashion that we just saw. But then it was aBeZy Kenny with Ghosty and Neptune. They won 3-1 in the losers bracket to make it to the grand finals, where Cammy, Snoopy, Purj and Celium go on to take the victory. So yeah, great win out of these guys. because there's been a lot of talk about Pred and Cello for the last few days. They were playing a few scrims, things weren't looking so good for the Falcons, and obviously Pred, you know, he likes to play the game, he likes to lay down on the floor a fair bit of the time. That can work in some search and destroy stuff, that's for sure. In Respawn, we'll see, especially with the way that this game plays, the movement and all that type of stuff. But yeah, great win. Snoopy and Cammy with Pred and Cell, they take the $10,000 tournament, and there's more where that came from, because there's more tournaments tonight that we'll get into as well. So good signs for those guys, especially with all the questions about that Falcons team. And also about the Boston team as well. I think when we did our power rankings, we had Boston 7th and Falcons 8th. We'll see if that transpires when the season gets underway. But the other big drama was this. So Owakening disconnected during that game. You can see Mercules here, the team that Wake was playing with. And it says Owakening with his number, Ricochet. And, well, like this is the Ricochet anti-cheat ban, right? So this is very interesting, because immediately, so well, hang on a second, we've got a pro player who actually got banned mid-map here by the anti-cheat system. So what's going on, right? Is this because he was cheating? That's the first thing to discuss. Is the anti-cheat that good and that reliable nowadays? We know that Jimbo got banned mid-tournament back at CHAMPS a couple of years back by the anti-cheat because he'd been cheating in some online matches leading up to that, and he might not have been cheating at the Challengers Champs, but his account got banned at that moment. We have seen this from players who have been in the league, and then, you know, they're struggling to get back into the league, and they think, well, if I just, that's basically the Jimbo situation, throw in a little wall hack here or there, nobody's going to know, we'll get away with it. Is that true for Awakening? You know, I'd like to believe not, of course, but it's fascinating that it's Awakening of all players, because like he might have just been shadow banned here, or I don't exactly know when this Ricochet thing comes up, but pretty rare to see this, to be honest. There may well be innocent explanations, but it is still interesting, especially given that Awakening was accused, let's not forget, a few years ago of cheating, right? I mean, what a spectacular thumbnail this was. But now Crim6 was basically saying that I don't think he's cheating. But if you guys remember, when Big Wake first came into the league back in Modern Warfare 19, people thought this guy was too good to be true. Like, his awareness was simply too good. And probably what was happening in hindsight was the start glitch, right? If you guys are aware, in Modern Warfare 19, there was a start glitch where if you died, you could press the start button, bring up the menu, and it would bring up the big mini-map. And when you were watching the kill cam, it would show them big mini-map from the other player's perspective who was actually controlling the camera in the kill cam. So you got all the information as to where all the arrows were. That is probably what Florida were doing to have good success, especially once Awakening joined. But there were some, you know, theories that Wake was actually a bit too good to be true. Slacked, who went on to team with Wake, which is pretty funny the following year, he actually did this tweet and says that, you know, Wake uses a strike pack, this guy's cheating, because Wake pretty much came out of nowhere and was immediately in the league and like doing really good damage. This was all in the online era. People didn't really know. So again, the question was, people thought he might have been hacking, but there was no real evidence, and it turned out in due course he was probably just pretty damn good, and the start glitch was having a part to play in that. He certainly wasn't cheating in Black Ops 6, because last year was a pretty rough one individually. Wake did this tweet a couple of years ago and said, still can't believe people thought I was hacking on Modern Warfare, playing on a PS4, he says. So all pretty interesting, and even Don recently tweeted about this. There was some, like, basically group chat from a little while ago, and this is when they initially thought he was cheating, and Crim was like, I'm adding Spencer, keep an eye on this tomorrow, like maybe this guy is dodgy, right? So all pretty funny to look back on, but now here we are a few years later and Wake's just been banned by Ricochet anti-cheat. So yeah, make of that as you will. Again, I've not seen much either way so far. Maybe there'll be some more developments in the coming days as to whether there's actually anything seriously going on here. We know that Ricochet can make mistakes. We've seen that before, so we'd like to give the benefit of the doubt for now. Let's talk about the matchups for tonight. So Zinni's Switcher is done. Now we've got the Zuma Flank Invitational. These are the teams that have been formed. Again, we've got some of the Boston guys with Pred and Exnid. So it's a Boston Falcons combo again. Maybe they could be a serious threat. these are the teams if you want to look at it from this angle as well. And, well, these are the names and the players for the tournament tonight. So pretty exciting stuff again. Dashy and Mercules are ReeaL and JoeDeceives, Slasher Nero with Huke and Shotzzy. So pretty interesting stuff there. Some different pairings, of course, to how we've seen before. Scrap and Kenny this time with Lurks and Craze. We'll see how they get on. Very much interested to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.